Welcome back. It is August. Welcome back to 614 Headsets. We are in the thick of it, boys, right now. Everybody at this point in time has had their first scrimmage. We're getting
God, I
ready to
thought you were
try to.
going to come on here tonight with a sling on or something. Got beat up a little bit in the first scrimmage, first week of hitting.
Who?
You used to in high school, you said?
Stop it.
That's
All right. Once again, welcome back, everybody. We're trying to throw a lot of shade here, I guess, because it's been a long time since we all seen each other. We got to get our digs in, all right? Hey, Tom Brady said it best. Football is unconditional love, and we couldn't agree more. This game's a lifestyle. We consider ourselves a movement that lifestyle. We're three coaches from the 614 Columbus, Ohio area that just eat, sleep, and live this game. A lot of us, like I said, I'm about 5-6 hours in today trying to get ready after scrimmage 1 into getting ready for scrimmage 2 before our 2 days wrap up. I think it's important before we get started, before we talk about this episode and fundraising and where we're going to go, just to let viewers know where we're going to take the show as we start this season. For a while, we talked about what are we going to do? And we talked about, hey, we'll just build up a library of shows and roll those out to people with new intros in the fall. We talked about a show where every Thursday we're going to hop on and preview our top 5 favorite games. And then it really, as we kept talking, it dawned on to us about it would be selfish of us to take away from our families, to take away from our teams by doing a weekly podcast, because we put a lot of work in each one of these episodes. We make a script, we do a lot of research, we watch a lot of film, we coordinate guests. There's a lot of editing that goes into it from the YouTube side and the highlight side. And it just felt selfish of us to take away from our teams doing all that every week. That being said, we're not going to be completely done. We feel like we found a happy medium of taking the season and breaking it down into 4 quarters. And so what our goal is in the fall is to hop on 4 times in the season to break down the high school season up to that point, give an update of how our season is going from our team's perspectives, and to talk about maybe some of the key matchups and key games we think about moving forward in the 614 area into that next quarter. We've also talked too that when we all hope we make the state championship, and hopefully we do. Hopefully Ryan does too. And at some point in time, too, you could see us jump back into a regularly weekly podcast throughout the rest of the high school playoffs. Who knows? Spectrum puts on the games. Maybe we watch a game together on the TV with our equipment and we give a little watch it and give a take. But I just wanted to thank everybody so far that has joined into this show, who has given us support and given us love. I think we've grown a lot from this point in time, but we can't lose sight that our job is we're football coaches, not podcasters. We love this podcast thing. I think it's something we're going to continue to do. We have great plans moving into next year as well. But at the end of the day, Ryan's a head coach, has a son, right? Donovan has a second job, has a real job, a career job, and helps coach as well. Myself, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach.
I love when we get into that real job.
Yeah, he's got that real job.
Dude, people
career.
were saying that. I'm like, don't say that. Come on now.
Different career outside education. Yeah. And then you get in the mix too. It felt selfish of us to try to take away time away from those other roles and responsibilities. And so we're going to bring you 4 quarters of 614 headsets throughout the fall season. And just wanted to take that moment to let everybody know how this show is going to move forward into the fall. We're excited about that. And then we're going to have massive ideas and big ideas rolling through into the next year. We got started in May, and we're talking about we're going to pick up right in the winter when it's that height of you need football back in your life, right? We're talking about some clinics and some other things we're going to put on. So I'm excited about that. Ryan, as we get started, man, let everybody know, how'd your first scrimmage go?
It went great. I think my favorite thing is just watching your kids go against someone else. All summer or all camp, you've now hit each other, it's getting chippy at practice, right? Guys are getting sick of each other. And then to go see our kids, and my favorite thing about our kids this week was like, we had some things where we messed up, but our kids didn't get down on each other like years in the past, right? Like they picked each other up. Like we came out of there with a lot more positives than negatives. And I'll say also, hey, Hamilton Township's a lot better than they were last year for sure. they flew around. Those kids play hard. And that's a shout out to Coach Varney. He took the offense over there and they just looked so much more organized. They looked like they knew what they were doing. The kids were playing so hard. Hamilton was a great scrimmage for us. I just love real football, right? I was sick of basketball on grass. So I think we just had a blast for real. And we did 2 quarters. I don't know how yours was set up. So I loved what we did this year. We went right into 2 quarters. We didn't do no 10, 10, 10, 10. We said, all right, we went coaches up in the box, no coaches on the field, actual drive, just a straight 2 quarters. And with dead special teams. That's all that was like changed. And when quarterbacks were live, you're sacking quarterbacks. And so we got right into the fire and got into the mix, and I loved it.
Yeah, I like that. I think the sooner you can make it real, the more you are making your players better, and the more whoever's calling your plays, you're putting them in a situation to get back into the season and get it back to being real. And so
that was even for me. I'm like,
we're
looking at the clock. I'm thinking about game management, the things how we would call in a game. We did some things that we wouldn't do it traditionally in a game, but just trying new things, trying different things. And also what you said just there is I have a new OC this year, done an amazing job, but he's always been on the field for me as my quarterback coach and signal caller. And now he went in the box for the first time. And some communication things that we had to fix. I'm glad we cleared that up now. And we can roll into the second scrimmage and work on those. And if we need to fix anything, we still have another week to fix that.
absolutely. Like I love the fact that when you're strategic about it, you can make your scrimmages set up to teach you a lot about your team or your operation of how you're doing things even. And so
About you guys, though. Talk to me about you guys. I know we had a good one over there at Orange.
we had a scrimmage against Orange. I think the hardest part for us is managing expectations. Managing expectations from you were a Final Four team to now starting over. And we're constantly holding now our standard and our expectations at where we were last year versus understanding a little bit it's a new year, it's a new team. No matter how good you are, you're still going to have those early mistakes out of kids. It's just they're high school kids. It's early football, learning from that. I think there's some things we did extremely well. Like I told our offensive side, our offensive staff, this is the first time in my life I've ever brought back an entire offensive staff together. And so seeing the benefit of how that's played out into year 2 in our offense showed how we had 0 procedure penalties. We had 4 or 5 personnel groupings running off on and off the field at one point in time. Our spacing was great. All those types of things that we don't usually have in the past was great. We played well. There's some things we obviously thought we could have done better at. Our scrimmage was a little bit in between. Like we did a little bit of a series of 10, and then it was all down a distance from there as well. But I like it. And it's funny you said that because I'm a big script guy, and I've always scripted. If it's a set of 10, those 10 plays are scripted. I didn't care what it was. And I threw a curveball to my staff and myself, and I just said, here's some favorite plays and some things we might run. And we're just going to go. Because even myself, I'm heading into year 12, and I've been helping or calling plays to myself for a long time now. I just felt like I wanted to put myself back in that situation of where are we at? Where's the ball at? Getting back into the scenario of football.
I like down and distance so much better in scrimmages. I don't know. It's something about the 10 plays. It's like you could have, if you're on defense and the offense blasts through you for a 70-yard touchdown and you feel a little defeated, like it's, oh, no, it's at the end of the series. It's not offense's turn to go back. You gather your things. Nope, you're back up for 9 more plays. Or on the flip side, you get a pick 6. The momentum's all hype. You've won that series or whatever. Oh, no, you got 7 more plays. I don't know. The down and distance is just so much more enticing to me. Yeah, I get the 10 plays. I get why we do it, I think, but the down and distance I like so much better.
This was my first year doing the 2 quarters and 2 full quarters, and I don't think I'll ever go back. Like if Varney leaves or we don't want to scrimmage, something happens, whatever. What we've done it the past 2 years, and last year we did do the 10 plays, and we just talked this year, and we went straight into situational, and we got one thing that stands out in my mind was we had a punt, right, and we shanked the punt, a horrible punt. And we're still on our side. They're driving in on our side. And right after that, like we had a timeout or there was an injury or something like that. And our kids came over and I just told them, I said, hey, we can't practice this. This isn't practice, gentlemen. Like, you can't practice this feeling. So you're in it right now. Go get us the ball back. Like, you got to find a way. Next play, we got an interception, and I was just so happy. You know what I mean? It went that way for us because it could have went downhill. But
See how you respond.
Yep.
yeah,
How many plays did each side of your ball get, roughly? How many did you think you left with?
if you look at the clips of the film, it was like we had 110 plays total.
So you might have 45 to 40 to 45 on each side because you have some special teams. So that's good.
And there was no like team blowing each other out. You went back and forth the whole night.
I like that, and that might be something we try because I'm with you guys. I think the more you can to make it real, the better it is.
You're out there yelling like a real game, getting into it. Like it felt amazing to jump right into it.
I yelled a little bit. I yelled at Donnie a little bit, and I yelled at everybody a little bit. Some people definitely heard me on Saturday, but it was all good.
What was your and then we'll get into it, but what was your guys' number one positives that you took out of the scrimmage?
I think Stout will say the same thing, but just remembering where we were as a new offense last year at this point, and I don't not want to say how basic some things had to be, but just like how like there was a little more autonomy from the players of you didn't need to, for me, I didn't need to talk through this is your zone combo, you do XYZ. It was, hey, you missed the linebacker, tell me what you saw. You know what I'm saying? There's a little more autonomy being in year 2 of the system. And I know Stout like that. I don't know if that's his thing, but I love that.
Yeah, I would say it was different from me. And the positive, I guess, would be just seeing how much is in now versus what was in last year. So basically, like we were new last year, new as a staff, new with the players, developing as we went. There's things we didn't install or do until the midpoint or beyond, thinking we would grow into that type of team. And it's flipped now. And now we did all that preseason. So we're a drastically different offense now than what we were at the beginning of year last year. And it's just interesting to see all packaged together. And then not showing a lot of it anyways, too. So that's great. Ryan, let's get into this kind of final real big episode before we get into the fall football season. What are we going to do today?
We couldn't forget about the offensive guys that score points. I know we started with defense because it is true. If they don't score, they don't win. So defense is the most important side of the ball. Don't argue that, Stout. But
I love defense.
It's the best side of the ball. But
in fact, you can ask Murad Holiday. Anytime we scrimmage, anytime we 7-on-7, I always vote for the defense to start and set the tone.
I like that. Murad's going to set the tone. The defense flies around, though. But here's the thing. So today we're going to start and we're going to get into our all gas. It's an all gas episode right here. That's my favorite ones. We're going to get into the all gas Central Ohio offensive guys. First, I want to start by saying, again, just reiterate it, right? There's a ton of you kids around the Central Ohio area. Today, I was in charge of quarterbacks, right? However many teams there are around Central Ohio, there's that many quarterbacks. And the same with the running backs. And some teams run two running backs. You know what I mean? They got a two-headed monster there. So don't get offended. Don't feel like we didn't put you out there. I think every Central Ohio kid's doing a phenomenal job. I think we're all working right now. We're all into the thick of things. Like Stout said earlier, we don't want kids to start feeling like we left them out. But these are the ones we watched film on. These are the ones that we got suggested. I got so many messages. I don't know about you guys, but once I put that out there about the offensive one, tell me who the good quarterbacks and running backs are. I looked at my phone after 15 minutes, and I think I had 16 messages at that point. Like after 15 minutes, just like people messaging me, kids messaging me, sending me huddle highlights, and I loved watching all of it because it was a little different for me because I love watching defensive stuff, right? Like I'm always watching defensive stuff, and then to see these kids around Central Ohio that I haven't really sat down to watch, some of these guys are special.
There's a lot of talent. That's what's really interesting. That's why I loved from the defensive perspective as well. It's hard. It is hard. There's just so many. There's so many teams on here. Hey,
this was the hardest episode.
There was hard. As we get started, though, hey, we can't forget about sponsor our show, Fundraising University of Ohio. They offer a variety of fundraising efforts that helps football teams run profitable, effective, and fast-paced fundraisers designed to raise the most money in the shortest amount of time to reach their fundraising goals. Fundraising University of Ohio is locally owned, operated, and with their 6-step blitz system will help your team maximize profits. As their current coach himself, Brent Maxwell of the Fundraising University will sit down and help you pick, plan, strategize, and execute your fundraiser that will allow you as a coach to focus on your practice time, your prep time, player time, and personal time. Fundraising University offers 60-minute donation platforms. You'll have your money in 8 days. Digital and hard discount cards. They'll put in all the work for you, and their popcorn sale as well. If you're interested in us running a fundraiser for you, contact Brent Maxwell at bmaxwell@fundraising.net or 740-501-8946. If it is too late for your team to do it this year, thinking about for next year. He does great
Have to get
things.
to him.
Absolutely. So you might think, hey, we were here this year. You might ponder, how can we do things better? Give Brent and Fundraising University of Ohio a chance, and I promise you, he's going to make your life easier. He's going to bring you more money in a short amount of time than you ever thought possible, which you're going to pour back in your program and do great things with. Donovan.
Check the flavors of Northland High School's jerseys this year. That's all. It should have Maxwell on the back of all of them on the nameplate.
Let's roll, baby. Let's get it going.
All right. It's always got to start off with the big boys. And just like defensive line, we talked about a few weeks ago, man, Columbus, I don't know if it's always been like this, but the past few years, just D-line and O-line, and plenty of other positions too, but D-line and O-line has been stacked in the 6-1-4. And I got 5 O-linemen and 2 tight ends I'm going to go through. First offensive lineman is my guy, Jake Grimm from Gahanna-Lincoln High School, committed to Toledo, despite my efforts to get him to the Red Hawks. Chose Toledo. But I got a word or a phrase for each one of these guys, and the word for him is finisher.
Copycat.
It was such a good idea. I had to take it. The word for Jake is finisher. He's a kid that Stout said it plenty of times before in practice or others. He is a kid that it's a rare, not ability, but a rare mentality to have that finishing ability to put guys into the dirt. That mean streak, right? That mean streak that he has, you don't see a lot in high school football. And he's a kid that I think he'll play more interior in college, right? But his technique is there, and he's got that mean streak at the end. Love him to death, and he's a really good offensive lineman in the city. I'll keep going through these. Next one was Justin Terry from Pick Central, committed to West Virginia. The word for him was high ceiling, right? He's already a top offensive lineman in the city of Columbus, but he's huge. He's got long arms. He moves well. He's strong. He's got a bit of an attitude to him, and you see it all in that film. I don't know what Pick Central's putting in the water over there, but they're putting out a lot of good offensive tackle prospects all the time. And he is a guy that in his next stage of his career in college has so much potential at West Virginia, getting him in that weight room, getting him on the meal prep and everything they're going to do there at a high caliber Division I school. So his phrase is high ceiling. Next one I got was Gavin Dabo. I think that's how you pronounce the last name, from Grove City, committed to Western Michigan, another MAC guy. His word is technician. He is like in the movies. You got the sniper, right? You're pinned down by another sniper. You send in yours, who's got every little gear pack, right? And he just sets up on the ridge and he blows the other dude away. He is such a technician when it comes to his hands. His sets are advanced for a high school kid. Even a good, like a lot of times, Division I high school offensive linemen that are just big, strong, athletic, mean, right? He is a little bit of all those, but he's so good at his technique. His footwork, his hands, and he's got that mentality to finish at the end as a bit of a mauler. Fourth one was Rex Lar. I think that's how you pronounce his name, from Pick North, committed to Liberty University. He's a wrecking ball. He is, of all these kids that I watched, he is the only one that, as the play progresses, his highlight or his tape or his play itself gets better. Like, he'll engage with the guy, he'll shock him at the line of scrimmage. And then as the play gets better, and not like just by putting him in the dirt, right? Obviously pancake is the end goal, but like you see the violence just tick, 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 tick up as the play goes along. You see his hands start working back inside. You see his feet start running faster. You see the defensive lineman start to panic even more 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds into the play. And that was the one guy out of all those. Like, he got better as it was just a domino effect. And then the last one was Jaden Ball, a little outside of Columbus, but Stout put me onto this kid from Bloom Carroll, committed it to Purdue. His word is just violent. you watch his film and you watch if you watch his highlight tape specifically, the first 7 or 8 plays are all counter pulls, just him destroying the defensive end that he's pulling to. No hesitation, no nothing. So he's a kid that I think Purdue really got, maybe not necessarily an under the radar kid, but one that can develop into a really big time player for them.
It's crazy. It's such a good list. As I'm
It's
looking
5
at
Division
it,
I kids right there.
and
Hey, I was
you
about
put
to
it
say,
on there.
Could you imagine what some of these running backs would do with that O-line?
Oh my God.
It's so good. They're like, the real interesting thing for us too, from our perspective, is we saw all of those kids but Jaden at Bloom Carroll, right? So either we coach them, play against them, or even in my perspective, I got to coach Rex too. Rex is the only offensive lineman to start for me as a freshman. So in 12 years of coaching, he's the only freshman that's ever started for me. And it was just because the technique and the desire to finish, like his effort is bar none some of the best I've ever seen. And then when you talk about the finishing side of things, I've only had 2 linemen ever finish with that nasty intent, like Jake Grimm, who's obviously going to Toledo, and Gunnar Vogel. When I was at Westfield South, he went to Northwestern and was an all-state kid his senior year as well. And just the same, that mean, controlled, not even controlled, like sometimes you had to pull off the field for a little bit to calm them down. So that's a really good list, Tony.
Yeah. This city is stacked with guys in the trenches. I got 2 tight ends. I got that group as well. And this was tougher, I think, than O-line. But there were 2 guys that the more I thought about it, I knew all from the beginning that I was going to pick them. First one who's new to the 614 is Tavion Galloway. Came from Chillicothe to Pick Central, the number 4 tight end in the entire country, number 1 in the state of Ohio. I think he's a 4-star recruit. Was committed to LSU at one point, but his word is athlete. There was a specific play when I watched some of his tape where he scored touchdowns. He's moving fast. There's a play where he was on defense, and like you just see someone had a pick, and it was going to be a pick 6, and he turned on the Jets, and he just chased him down. He is an athlete that Pick Central is definitely going to utilize in that tight end spot all across the field, and he's a big kid too. He's a lot of times tight ends that are really skinny, or sometimes they're super tall, but they're still built well, but they don't move that well. He moves really smoothly throughout the field. And then the other kid is also from Pickerington, AJ Miller, committed to the University of Alabama, Birmingham. His word was smooth, right? He was silky smooth. He just finds ways to get in the creases in the middle of the field, make plays, make a defender miss on the first tackle, stretch the field for that offense. I don't think he played defense last year. I think he was only on offense, but he's also a kid. You even look at tight end group in Columbus. There's a lot of college caliber tight ends going through the city or right outside of the Outer Belt even this year, which I don't think we see a whole lot year after year. But these 2 guys, who's another kid from Olentangy, there's someone else I'm missing too. But you don't see that a lot in Columbus, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'd agree. I think it's a more stacked tight end class as you look at things. You had, like I said, the kid from Olentangy. I think he's committed to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I know there's one more, but all of them fit that modern tight end. No, they're not your typical. They're just there to block. In fact, they're a little bit more of a passing threat.
I was going to say both of those dudes, those 2 dudes they named. The thing that I've seen from them watching film and things like that. I see a lot on Twitter with those guys. It's just sure hands. They're going to catch
the passing threat of what
they're going to come down with it. And this is what else I'll say is they use their body very well against defenders. They know how to leverage themselves to catch that ball and to take a little bump in the back and stuff. And some of the catches that I saw on AJ's highlight tape and I saw on Tavion's is just them straight pass interference, but they're so big that they don't call it. Like the ref won't throw the flag because they caught it.
I don't see it.
You know what I mean? They're just so big, but it's like an oblivious one. Yeah. But those 2 dudes are savage. I'm glad I don't play against any of that list.
I'm glad we get to play against all of that list. And that's why the standard's so high when we talk to kids. You know what I mean? Because we're going through this list and it's all right, week 5, week whatever, week 10, and trying to explain that to kids. So, Ryan, QBs and running backs, what do you got?
All right, the QB side of things was actually a little easier than what I thought. I knew one guy off the top The first guy that I'm going to talk about, though, I'm going to be real. I had no clue who he was. I didn't even know who he was in the beginning. I don't know why, but he is a savage. But my other two, though, were definites for me, just from me knowing them on Twitter, seeing their like film and stuff. But my first one, and I'm going to destroy this name, I think, but Ethan Grunkenmeyer.
You got it. There you go.
Okay. Hey, I never saw this kid before. I've never heard of his name, never nothing. And someone sent me it and was like, he's committed to Penn State. And I'm like, all right, let me check this. I watched this dude's film, and this dude is just a straight dog. Okay. He's listed right now as number 8 in Ohio as quarterback. He flies around. So one thing I read about him on like an article was that he was at the Elite 11 competition in California. And he was let me see right here. He was right third. He finished third behind Dylan Raiola, Julian Sayin.
Yes, I saw that.
We all know those names. And when you watch his huddle film and it's 11 minutes long, I'm going to tell you right now, I was like, I'm going to turn this off. I didn't turn it off. I made it through all 11 minutes of that film because I was so interested in this kid's game. And he got out of situations that you don't see a lot of quarterbacks get out of. And then his arm strength is just unbelievable on the run, too. He makes some throws that you don't see quarterbacks make all the time with just how strong his hips are and his twist is in his trunk. I'm going to say this, like, I am excited to watch this kid in college and throughout this year, actually. I want to keep up with him and just watch his stats or his highlights because I had a blast watching them. I'm just glad he's not going to be – I'm glad he's going to Penn State, but I wish he was going to OSU.
It's interesting. They just got a pretty good commit, too.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is, like, he's had a massive summer. Like, when you say, I didn't know who he wasn't on my radar, that pretty much describes, I think, for a lot of people, how they describe Ethan. Last year, Olentangy, new coach. I think they got off to a rough start. I'd have to go back and look at the schedule. But if I remember right, like, not the start everybody thought was going to happen with the new head coach that came over from Bloom Carroll. And then I think really picked up and started to do better as the year went on. And the Ethan kid didn't have a ton of offers, and he starts going to these camps. He starts having a great summer. And then the Elite 11, bang, Penn State commit. It was just out of nowhere in such a short amount of time. So I think what your perspective of not knowing him was, I think that's the perspective for a lot of people.
No, and then the next guy, obviously we all know, old Brennan Ward, right? He was already on here. That dude is obviously just a field general altogether. Even at his young age, last year he was a sophomore, right?
Yeah.
And watching his film from last year, because obviously it's all film from last year. These guys are a year older, and that's why I also see these guys being way better this year, just because of the work that they put in. Brennan's been to the Elite 11 stuff, and I thought he won the accuracy challenge, right, or something like that.
Yeah, he did. He won one of the accuracy awards.
And so that, for me right there, that's just the top of the top. That's the cream of the crop right there, and he's winning accuracy awards. And he has tough competition in Ohio, for real. And in Central Ohio, he does have a lot, but also like just around the area, right? Looking at the guys, Ryan Montgomery from Findlay, then you got Tavian St. Clair from Bellefontaine, you got Rocco Williams at Pitt Central. He does a great job. He throws a good ball. There's just guys everywhere. Then my next guy that I'm going to talk about in a second, but I don't want to bring his name up yet. But he just has great stuff in Central Ohio. But then you look on the outskirts of Central Ohio, and it's even tougher for them. So I think that Brennan Ward is going to be a guy that's going to dominate all of Ohio, all of Central Ohio, all year, just throwing the ball around. I think for me, his balls that he threw, even in our 7-on-7, some of those, our guy can't even touch it, and they're just like looking back at me like, coach. Like, I'm like, we ain't going to see this all year, boys. And there ain't no other quarterback like this in the city. And it's funny to watch that stuff because, like you guys said, you're seeing this every week, right? Like you're at the OC, you're at Division I, like you're seeing that stuff every week. And for us, when we get to go see somebody like Brennan Ward, I think that opens up our DB's eyes to see, well, there's a lot of guys that can sling this ball way better than what we've already seen.
Yeah, he made 2 throws Saturday that were already – he made a couple last year, but to watch him make the 2 throws he did yesterday, there was 2 of them. And then even our defensive coordinator was like, that's the best ball I've ever seen him throw.
Yeah.
Like he just it's clicking. The development's clicking in. The weight room's kicking in.
And he works hard too, though. That's the thing. Like he's a hard worker, and that's where I've picked up from you guys.
Unbelievable. I love it. I have become so spoiled to the point I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back. I don't know. Like here, I have a kid that I just get along with so well as a play caller, and just the night before the scrimmage, or the 2 nights before the scrimmage, came over, sat down in the basement, screencast the iPad, drawing on it up on the TV. We're going through the film and going through stuff together. That's something we did last year, and it's something we're going to continue to do this year. Just constantly every week going through the film and seeing what he likes and letting him put his perspective into the script and things, and then telling him, this is what I like. When I call, this is what I'm thinking, and getting on the same page together. I'm spoiled. I don't know if I'll ever go back or how I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you get a kid like that's just. I felt the same way when I had Jack at Big North, though. I felt the same exact way. You're going to find, but you'll never get another Brennan Ward. That's for sure. I firmly believe, and I said this the other day, is that I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the nation. And I'm just going to say that. And I don't know. There's going to be people that don't agree with me on that. But I think he's very well could be, by the end of this season, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the nation. And I firmly believe he's going to have a ton of offers after the season. He just has the weapons out there. You guys got running backs, cool receivers, and it really just comes down to old Stout. Let's see what I'll do there. No, I'm joking.
Better talk to this guy on the screen next to me.
Yeah.
This way.
That one.
Heard you were yelling at him a little bit. My next guy, though, I did an honorable mention for both my running backs and quarterbacks. I don't care what Stout says. He was like mad because I wanted 4 of each. But he was like, nah, no shot. And so
4 is ridiculous. I said pick 2 and have an honorable mention. 4 was too much.
And I was going to have an honorable mention with 4, so I would have 5. But here's the thing. So this dude, man, I don't see a lot of offers. You don't see a lot of offers, but he is one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch is Matthew Pappas or Pappas, whatever, from Grove City.
Pappas.
You go back and you watch his film from last year. That dude, I love the plays that he makes. He throws some balls, and he's not that big. You can see him on film. Like, he's not that big. But he makes some plays that you're like, oh, my goodness. This dude throws the ball in spots you wouldn't even believe in. You wouldn't even think his arm is that strong.
He's a gunslinger, dude. Zero fear.
You would, and he stands in the pocket. Like, he took some hits, boy, and, like, got right back up. So here's the thing. I think he's my favorite. I love the offense that he's in, the Grove City up-tempo, fly around. You know what I mean? Not that many plays. Just get on the ball and let's run the plays. I think I love him so much just watching this film because my favorite football player of all time in college is Johnny Football. So we're about to call him Matty Football for the rest of the time if we ever have to bring him back up because
good comparison.
I'm telling you right now, he makes some things shake out there for Grove City. And look, dude, Grove City hasn't been that good in the past. And then now you got this kid at the helm and a new coach, and they're doing a phenomenal job over there.
High-powered offense.
They're fast.
Yes.
So here we'll get to the running back side of things. And this was the toughest thing I had to choose. By far the toughest thing I had to choose. And there's just running backs everywhere in Central Ohio. I watched probably 8 to 10 films on kids to see who I want to see. And I got so many emails about running backs. And I love the kids supporting their boys, but some of you guys got to realize your boy ain't the best, really, though. Some of these films.
Must not be. It's a tough list. We got a Mr. Football finalist, and he didn't make the list. So Sayer's list is tough to make.
Nah, he's going to get a mention. You already know. I'm going to explain this myself at the end there. Relax. Dior, I love your film. You're one of the toughest kids I've ever watched play football. So he mentioned him first already. But my first guy I'm going to pick is a dude that these guys that I'm naming first are ones that I had no clue who they were. I found them on Twitter that day and was like, oh, shoot, this dude's an animal. Nasir Phillips from Westerville South. He's first team All-State. He's been OC Offensive Player of the Year last year, right? And, man, he runs the rock hard. That's the thing. He's not getting tackled by one guy, and he gets downhill immediately. And that's one thing that I found out that I loved about him. And you could tell that he's going to be way faster and way stronger. And I love that he's one of those shorter guys. It looks like he's just a stocky kid. I don't know, Stout, you see him a lot more. But he looks like he's just got a great center of gravity.
Hungry. He's hungry. You know what I mean? A kid coming off all that success, you never know how it's going to go. And he seems still very hungry for more.
And he just runs the rock with some toughness. And the one thing about him is he might not have that speed that's going to give you that second gear to get all the way to the end zone, right? But man, he is running the ball hard, and that defense is feeling it. So he's just wearing them down play after play. Because when you have to go tackle a guy like that 20 times, 25 times in a game, you're going to feel him. He looks tough. I don't know. He's probably in the weight room a lot this year, and I think he'll be way faster, way stronger. My next guy is Nate Sievers. I love that he's committed to Air Force. Huge shout out to him. I love anybody that committed to an academy. I don't know about you guys, but that's one of my favorite things is kids committed to academies.
This kid's a dog.
I had an Air Force offer, and when I told the coach I wasn't going there, he was very upset that I was choosing Miami. He was insulted almost.
Yes.
That I would choose a non-academy school. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I get it. The standard is very high there.
Hey, one of the best recruiting pitches I ever heard was a dude from the Naval Academy. I sat in listening to him talk to this player about the Naval Academy, talking about the process of when you get done, and his sales pitch of, he's like, what if I could guarantee you that when you graduate, you'll be guaranteed to have a 6-figure job right when you're done? I'm like, I'll go back. Like, you know what I mean? Like he had the craziest. He's like, your education will be paid for. You'll play great football. You'll have a resume that'll get you in any door you want to. And he said, I can guarantee you'll have a 6-figure job when you're done. I'm like, this is the best recruiting pitch I've ever heard.
That was the first place that that was the first place I was going to go to 100%. Like, I mean, my senior year wanted to go there, didn't get a high enough ACT to even get into the NAPS program. So this standard is very high there. But you got into Penn State,
dude.
Bro.
Hey, I know your ACT wasn't high.
Didn't have to be. I was a good enough athlete to overcome it.
Yeah. Hey, not at the academy. You better have them grades, boy. But Nate Sievers, dude, being committed to Air Force, that's huge for him. Being from Big Walnut also. And this kid could very easily get overlooked. And that's one thing that I love he hasn't, because he has dogs over there. We had his boy on here last week on the defensive side of things. And for us, I feel like you look at that, there's times he could get overlooked. But I watched this film, and that dude got speed too. He looks big. He looks tough. He looks
a specimen. In fact, as we talk about best games, if I were a fan of high school football, I would be circling Western South versus Big Walnut. That is a game. If you're interested in wanting to see a game with a lot on the line, with some really good talent, that will be a bloodbath to the very end. Yeah. That's a game I would circle and go to.
I think those are two tough teams with tough players all across the board. And I loved watching Nate Sievers stuff. I thought he was and I've watched it before, but when I was able to sit down and actually focus on it and look at some little things that he does really well, he hits that hole and he follows his blocks. He makes sure he's running the right play. He just looks like he's where he's supposed to be every time. And he makes guys miss. Even with that big body, he looks huge, but he's deceivingly fast. I was watching this film and I'm like, oh, he's going to get caught. He ain't got caught one time. So I was like, wow, he's deceivingly fast. My honorable mention guy got to go to my guy, right? Amir. He just got offered by ODU. I have to give him love just based off of like his injuries in the past and stuff. He had a high ankle sprain last year. He played 6 games, had 1,200 yards for us, 12 touchdowns. That's averaging 2 touchdowns, 200 yards a game for us. And he's been my first 4-year starter on both sides of the ball. I've never had a guy that has started all 4 years on both sides of the ball. He came in as a freshman, has dominated. This is his senior year. He had some amazing runs. On Friday night, he had a touchdown run that was about 30, 40 yards that he split 2 guys that ran into each other, collapsed. He cut back on the safety, cut back on the other corner, was taking pursuit angle, and ran it right in for another 20 yards. It was just one of the best runs I've seen out of a high school kid just in live action. He ain't have a lot of blocking, so he goes and makes plays on his own. He took a screen for about another 15 yards that he didn't have one person block for him. I think my offensive line ran the run play and just didn't even go to the second level or anything. But he's a great kid, too, super quiet. But he's just done a phenomenal job for me. And I'm just excited for him this year because he's put that work in, right? And I get to see it firsthand. That's where I'm excited.
It's funny you say that. There was years ago, I was first starting coaching, and I went to a clinic, and this guy from I think it was Valdosta or it was Calpe, one of those two schools. He was talking about screens, and he said he finally got to the point with linemen. He said, "I don't even pull them anymore." He goes, "If you think about it," he goes, "they always get out there. They don't block somebody. They just get ran around. They get hung up." He goes, "Our entire screen game now, we don't even pull them." He goes, "I was tired of watching it. Like it was just the funniest perspective." And still to this day, probably 10 years later, I still remember sitting in that room, hearing him talk about that perspective of why he doesn't do it. And every time one of our linemen doesn't get out or doesn't block somebody, that's all I think about.
You're ready to say the
all,
same thing.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And Amir's going to have a lot more offers this year. I think that the injury bug killed him last year. If he would have had more games, he would have gotten a few of the smaller D1 offers. I have an honorable mention. It's not even an honorable mention. He can be on this list. I'm sorry, Dior.
Don't throw him in late. Don't give him your pub. Don't give him your pity pub.
Here's the thing. I chose Brennan. I wasn't going to throw two of the GLs on there. I got us to spread the love. But Dior, you are a straight savage as well. I think your films – I think you're one of the top running backs in the nation.
He's pretty good.
He's a savage. Hey, he's a savage too. I ain't gonna lie. Who's the other kid you tagged me into? He's a dog too. Antoine Simmons or something like that.
I don't remember. I tagged the Phillips kid. I tagged the Seavers.
Is that a kid on your team?
Antoine.
Amir Simmons or something.
Yeah.
He's a dog too.
Yeah, they're a little thunder lightning combo. It's pretty interesting to coach it. So that's
maybe if the O-line coach could get those guys a block.
No kidding. Come on, man. That's tough though. I will say it to try to. I get to have 4 wide receivers. Dominic gets to have 5 linemen. To try to squeeze the talent you had to pick into 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs, that's a very hard task. We had a hard task. You did a great job, Ryan. I'm proud.
I watched a lot.
That was tough. That'd be tough with 2 picks. I agree. Last but not least, I have the wide receivers, and I kept with my original OG plan of keeping a tag or a phrase word for each one. And I
started that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I brought this a little bit differently. And I looked at with 4 wide receivers, I was going to make an all gas team with 2 guys I would put outside and 2 guys I would put inside of your slots. And so first up, I'll go ahead and start with who I said I would put at the slot receiver spot. And first is Preston Bowman, right? Pick North High School, junior, described him as the coach's dream. And I say he's a coach's dream just from his work ethic and how he could play every single receiver spot. He could play all 4 of them if you were a spread 10 personnel team. He is a good blocker. He's good in the RPO game. He's a technician. He has the speed. He has all this experience from starting ever since his freshman year. Going to be a monster this year and next year. In fact, I know he scored a big touchdown against St. Ed's in the scrimmage. I saw that on social media as well. So I've had to put him on that list, absolutely. My second player I put on the inside, Sam Williams-Dixon, another Pickerton North High School, right? Came from West Holmes. I know he's labeled as a running back primarily, but I have to wonder if that's where Ohio State is going to play him as his primary position next fall. He reminds me so much of a Curtis Samuel type, right? I really think I have to think that's what they envision. I could be wrong. I think he's going to be a massive weapon for them in the future. And so I thought about putting him as an inside receiver for this all-gas team, using him as the Buckeyes did with Curtis Samuel, motioning him back in the backfield, doing different things with him. And I called him the Ferrari because when this kid has the ball, it's lights out, man. And I'm hoping week 10 next year we find a way to just bottle this kid up in the box somehow because in the open field, you just can't let him get going. All right. Outside receivers, I will start with Jackson Wiley from Olentangy. I called him the rising stock, another kid that I didn't know anything about last year. And now you add in the fact that who his quarterback is, and you know he's going to be able to put the ball on him. He's 6 foot 165. I loved his film. He played at the outside a lot last year. He can take the top off, which is really awesome to watch. But he's really good at breaking off in those curls and breaking off in the comebacks. He has big range around him. And what I mean is big catchability. If you put the ball somewhere around him, he can catch it, which is great for those outside receivers. And I think that tandem of Grunkenmeyer and him together, I think both of them are going to keep going together this season. So that's why I put him on there. And then lastly, I had to go with one of our guys, Jalen Scott. I call him the smooth criminal. He's coming off a monster summer. He's not the fastest kid on the field. He's not the tallest kid on the field. He doesn't have all the stars or things like that, but something has clicked in him this summer to turn into a true number one wide receiver. And he has been lights out so far. I mean, we've gone through 7-on-7s where he's leaving with 4, 5, 6 touchdowns in that. And he just had another big one Saturday. He's doing things he has never done yet for us, which is awesome to see. We always knew the potential would be there, but just turning into more of a consistent player. He's got a lot of versatility too. He could slide inside as well. I did have an honorable mention myself. Is it Tazon, coach? Tazon Burns?
Yeah.
Tajon Burns from East High School. Primarily a running back again. And then there's sometimes he's at Wildcat. There's sometimes he's at wide receiver. I don't know if the stats are right, but the only stats I could find was the kid had 16 receptions for 450 yards, right? 9 touchdowns. Could you imagine seeing what he could do as a slot receiver?
Sounds like him.
Something absolutely bonkers, like over 30 yards per attempt or catch. It was crazy.
Getting against him last year, man, like you just put him wherever you want. And I know what they're going to do this year. I had a little scout at their little scrimmage the other day.
Yeah.
I guess there ain't it might be shorter quarterback, maybe an injury or something, but Tajon Burns took a lot of quarterback reps, wildcat kind of thing, getting to making sure your playmaker has the ball. So I hope Mike Bell knows I'm coming for that. I know what I'm going to do. But
+1, get +1 in the box.
I'm going to tell you right now, though, Tajon he's just a dog. Like last year when we were playing against them, right, we were up, what was that, 6-0, right? Or we were up 8-6. No, we were up 8-6 going into halftime. And right before half, they started just running, had him at like quarterback. Man, he got it all the way down to the 5. And we tackled him, though. He took us on a drive like 6 yards, 8 yards, 9 yards. Like he was just pushing the ball. I'm like, get me out of this half, please, before this dude gets in this end zone. We stopped him. He didn't get in the end zone. We come out of half, and where do they go right back to? And they go down and score. We ended up losing to them, and he played the full game, got every snap, every single play. He was getting every kick return, every punt return. He is just a weapon.
Yeah, he's good. That's why I had it. So I saw like the majority of his reps are at that wildcat or at running back. I'm like, let's see how many receptions he has. I'm like, 16 receptions for almost 500 yards and 9 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? I had to put it on there as an honorable mention just because I know the athlete he is and the capability he could have in that spot. Hey, I just want to appreciate everybody this went longer. This goes to show you like the talent this year on the offensive side of the ball in Central Ohio is crazy. And a lot of them play defense too. So it's just crazy to think this episode went about 20 minutes longer. But it was hard. So thank you, everybody, for following us so far. Thank you for joining in. Just share this episode out. Like last time, we had so many retweets, so many comments, so much love spread around this episode. And we just encourage you to please do that. Follow us, rate, subscribe, do all those things. This wasn't a one-season thing for us. And season 1's not over because what we're going to do the 4 quarters in the fall, season 2 for us won't start until, I think, December, January, when we look like, okay, season's over, playoffs are over, build off into the next offseason. So just continue to help us grow this thing. We've had a blast. The comments have been great. And follow us on Twitter, DonnieMac98. What do you, Coach Sayers 50, Coach South GLHS?
Don't act like you ain't know what the big dogs do.
Dude, I don't know if it's shifty, whatever, all gas, no break. I don't know. Every time it changes. Follow us. Give us some love. Thank you, Fundraising University, for believing in us and helping us and being a sponsor of our show. Being able to give us the equipment and the ability to do some awesome things and do more in the next season, too, with the ideas we have. And everybody just enjoy this best moment of life as here we are staring down the barrel of all football coming back. What a beautiful time. Ryan, have a great second scrimmage, buddy.
I'm excited to get there. You guys too. Who you guys got?
Go North.
Ooh, okay. There we go. Now, you guys have a great scrimmage too. And I do appreciate everybody also logging on here every time. We got great supporters, and huge shout out to Stout's mom, because every time I go to bite my fingernail in an episode, you'll see I take it down because she told me I got to stop biting my fingernails.
Hey, Mama Stout is
she drills. Huh?
Mama Stout should be the executive producer.
Yeah.
Like she sends me texts about Donnie, you, me, She puts
So
us on
serious.
blast.
Why does she's watching film on us on here? You need to get her.
Yeah, she is. She sends me some notes. Absolutely, she loves it.
Love that.
But hey, it's been great. Hey, good luck to you guys too. Have a great week. I'm gonna talk to you guys. You already know.
Absolutely. All right. One love, everybody.